gang. Great job last week with breaking down the infographics that you were able to find and share with the class. I've got on screen for you just a random sampling of 4 of the infographics, and some had good characteristics and some had bad characteristics as noted in the discussion. But there were 4 main discussion themes that emerged last week. Number 1, when to violate the rules. Many of you noted that depending on the theme, in the case of the Spider-Man infographic, or just other particular issues, if you look at the 27 Ways to be an Effective Classroom Teacher full infographic, there's probably about a dozen or 2 different font faces. Both of these infographics violate some of the rules that you've learned this semester, whether it was the Works Every Time layout, advice about typography, advice about color theory, or even some of the advice about infographics that you read in White Space is Not Your Enemy. One of the comments that I thought really kind of brought this point home was that of strategic violation. When we strategically violate a rule, knowing full well that we're violating it and why we're violating it. That's the key. When you create something, whether it's for me or going forward as a professional instructional designer or a instructor who employs these methodologies and tools that we've practiced, if you know that you violate a particular principle, that's one thing. If you know that you violate it and you can explain why you violated it, that's something else entirely. So being able to explain why you would violate a design principle or rule is good. And being able to explain why you think someone else violated a particular design principle is even better. That tells me that you're getting into the meat of the content and you're synthesizing it and you're able to explain, so it's not just superficial understanding and learning. We're getting deeper. Number 2, too much fill in the blank. Whether that's text, one of the last entries of the day, I think Joe may have posted this one on Sunday this weekend. It said it was an infographic, but it was pretty much just a picture with a whole bunch of text on it. Not so much graphic there, is there? So too much text. In some cases, too many different pictures or icons, and I don't know where to look. Or maybe it was a mixture of icons and actual pictures. So yeah, too much. If the point is to convey information and we draw upon the previous theoretical foundations we've looked at, then clearly some individuals need to scale it back a little. But we talk about this and we discuss it and we view examples together so that you can work towards creating your assignments and try not to fall into those same traps. Number 3, non-examples. This came up once in the discussion, I think, at least, but others kind of danced around the idea of a non-example. Sometimes we can learn just as much, if not more, from a non-example than we can from an example to model. So just something I wanted to point out. And then number 4, scroll fatigue. All too often, designers want to put as much information as they can into one infographic, and you end up with this huge, long image that isn't really conducive for use in multiple areas. You could put it on a website, but you're going to be scrolling for miles. If you tried to print it, you'd have to get a custom sized page, or you'd have to print it on multiple pages. It can get a little out of hand. And that's where some tools like Pictochart have created presentation modes of infographics, where blocks or sections can be presented or displayed independently from the rest of the graphic. But still, you got to ask yourself, do I really need to put all of this on here? And that was the essence of the infographic assignment, the instructional visual assignment. You started with this research article that's about to come out in Tech Trends, and you're trying to condense that into an infographic. How much content needs to be on that graphic? What content specifically needs to be on that graphic? And how do you convey it? So hopefully this was helpful for you to put it all together as we were wrapping up that assignment. So let's take a look at this week. Use the on-screen navigation to access another section of this week's overview.
Gold paints the sky just after sunrise.